So what is going on in the girl cave this week? A mess. A huge, huge mess. Actually, I've been working this week on cutting up my scraps. When I finish a project, I throw the leftover fabrics in that little egg basket. And the goal and the idea is to, as soon as I finish the project, go through the scraps and cut them into usable sizes as Bonnie Hunter suggests. So I keep a sticky note here on my cutting mat with the sizes that Bonnie Hunter suggests. So we have squares between 1.5 inches all the way to 12.5 inches. Now these last three, 5, 10.5, and 12.5 are not Bonnie Hunter's favorite sizes, but I like them, so obviously I cut them because this is my girl cave and I have my own rules. Then there are rectangles or bricks between 2 by 3.5 inches all the way to 3.5 by 6.5 inches, and then strips that are 12 inches or longer, anywhere between 1.5 inches wide all the way to 3.5 inches wide. So this is part of a quilt that I recently finished, which was called Flower Pots. I believe, I'm not even gonna try and say the name because I don't remember it properly. Anyway, so the quilt is already finished. This is the quilt. And it's already bound and quilted. I'm just sewing on a hanging sleeve and a label. So I am now taking all the leftover fabric and cutting them into sizes, right? Now these are not all of the fabrics that I use for flower pots. There's a lot more here because although the intention is to go after every quilt and process the scraps, in reality, I wait until that basket is overflowing. And I do that to myself every single time. And every single time I tell myself, don't do it. Finish. Go as you work, clean as you go. But do I? No. Now, that little bag here, this has leftover fabrics from one of Bonnie Hunter's quilts that I completed. I can't remember which one. But this I'm not going to cut into those little sizes because that's pretty much yardage. So yardage I will fold up, measure, and then store inside the closet. And I have a system in here. So on this first row here, I have anything that is a half yard or striped fabrics because I love to use these striped fabrics for binding. I think they make beautiful binding, so I keep those here. And then anything else is anything over a yard, okay? Between 1 yard, 5 yards, 7 yards, we won't say how many more, okay? And then at the very, very top, these are my Christmas fabrics, which I really need to start using. Maybe some of you will be getting some of my Christmas quilts. Not this year, because this year I have 2 people that I'm working on their Christmas quilts right now, but maybe next year. We also have a little bolt of fabric here hidden. There's a story to this bolt. I think we bought like 3 bolts, my friends and I, and there's still a bolt left over. Then in the closet, I also have this plastic shelving unit from Walmart, and I filled it up with my shoe boxes and I label them because this is where I keep my fat quarters. So obviously, if it's more than a fat quarter, I'm not going to cut it into a smaller size because fat quarters are easy to use. Okay, so again, I only cut up the little tiny pieces. Oh, something else you need to know here. You see these little sticky dots? They tell me exactly how much fabric I have there. Now, thinking about it. I wish I would have color coded the stickies as well. Because right now it's easy to use. Like if I need a red fabric, I'll go here and bring a swatch and see if I have something that matches, that will go well with what I'm looking for, just by putting it here. I don't have to pull this entire thing out and make a mess every time in my room. I just look for it and I say, oh, I have enough fabric. Yes, I have enough. And then I'll pull that one out. However, I wish I would have color coded the sticky dots so that I might do that maybe this summer, maybe next summer, maybe never. But I would like for it to be the yellow dots indicating that I have anywhere between 1 and 2 yards, the green dots 3 to 4 yards, and the red dots or pink dots 5 or more yards. That way it would be incredibly easy to see if I had enough fabric. Okay, now let me try and not make you dizzy. This cube unit has magazines and books. My goal is to put those magazines and books somewhere else and use that cube unit to store all of those scraps that I've cut and sorted, because what I'm using right now under my cutting table, I have these plastic bins, but you will see that they are stuffed to the gills. I mean, to the point where it's almost impossible to get to them. Now I have this top drawer has the strips. So these are 3.5 inches wide. These are my 2.5 inches wide. I have all the strips there. The second drawer has the rectangles. These are 4.5 by 2.5. These are the 2 by 3.5. And then the bottom one has the little squares. So these are 5-inch squares. This little bag right here, such a cutie, 1.5-inch squares. And then these 3 have the same, but I'm separating them by, these are the neutral colors. So paper bag, because Bonnie says anything that is white all the way to paper bag brown is considered a neutral. So I keep the neutrals on this side. Obviously, I don't have enough of these neutrals. This is a nightmare. These are those half square triangles that when you make half square triangles, you have that extra leftover. Yeah, they're in there. Another day. And then here, this used to be a recycling bin. I washed it out really well. And I have anything that's less than 12 inches, those leftovers, I put them in here. So these are my strings. And I do like to make string quilts. I've made several. I have one where the blocks are already made. I just have to put them together now. So how many quilts do you think I can make with all of these strings? Many, many, many. This is just a quilt that I'm hand quilting. Eventually I'll finish it. So that's what I'm working on now. Let me know if you would like to see a video of me just wasting my life away here cutting up fabric. This is one of those beautiful prints that I use for that flower pot quilt. I have to give it a good press, so I'll take it over there to my little cutting board. That's where I press small pieces. I'll give it a good press. And then because it's large enough, but it's not a fat quarter, I'll start with the biggest size. So obviously I cannot cut a 12.5-inch square out of this, so I'll start with 10.5 and then take the other piece and see if I can cut strips, or maybe 5-inch blocks, or just whatever calls my attention at that moment. Okay, now these pieces here I can't use for anything, because honestly, what are you gonna make with that? What are you gonna make with this? Not much. So besides making a mess, I take those, and you see that and that combines to make these. These are dog beds. So I make these dog beds. They're just like a pillowcase, and then I stuff them like a piñata with those little tiny pieces. I sew them shut, and I take them to the dog shelter, and they're for the doggies. A lot of people like to give them at the dog shelter. They'll give them away when people adopt a dog. They get a free bed. Sometimes they just use them in the kennel. Sometimes I take them. The last time I took them to a foster group, so they just give them to dogs, because every dog deserves a bed, right? That right there, that's my scrapbooking tote. Yes, I scrapbook as well, so there's another mess involving scrapbooking. And here is my design wall, and I don't want to show this here because this is somebody's Christmas gift, but I keep maybe some blocks that I'm working on. My friend Diane and I are working on this Woodland Whimsy, I think it's called. That's all hand applique. It's all wool. And then while I was cutting up the scraps, I found that piece, and that will become, that's my inspiration piece, so that will become something else. And then I just have leftovers. I made a quilt for 2 of my aunts, and I had those little blocks left over. So I keep them there until I figure out what I want to make with them. Maybe one of those candle mats, not candle mats, but snack mats or place mats. Who knows? I have a few of those leftovers. So I'm just waiting for inspiration to strike. And that is what is going on in the girl cave this week. A huge mess. A huge mess. But maybe I can finish it by the end of May so that I may enjoy summer and go crazy creating something new. Let me know if you would like to see a video of me just working in the mornings. Maybe you can join me every 15 minutes in the morning. Just work at it together. Okay? Bye.